welcome back to Rick's Scale Model Fix and the final part of our 1/48 scale Magic Factory A4M Skyhawk. So if you've been following along with the others, well, you know now that this is going to be the final part of this build, and I've just gone through the instruction booklet and found all those little red dots and question marks and stuff to remind me that we've got plenty of aerials, blades and other bits and pieces to attach to the model. But first things first, we need to just finish our landing lights, wing taxi lights, whatever you want to call them, on the underside. So as you'll remember in the previous section, we've done the top surfaces, so we just need to mask these off and spray what is essentially the black portion of each lens. So I'm just going to remove that canopy and the ejector seat. The front windscreen is now attached, and we're just going to lay this on its back. This is going to literally be just a couple of bits of Tamiya tape just to mask off that black section. So, and then coming in with our undersurface grey, and we're just going to lightly blend that in. To the fuselage underside. Not forgetting the trim tab on the aileron that we've added so it didn't go missing. And then we're just going to remove the strips of tape to complete that job. Now we will have a little bit of overspray, and that's easy enough to just blend in with the airbrush, and luckily it's fell on a panel and that hides the overspray, and that's another task completed. Now we've got a myriad of aerials and other bits and pieces that have assembled here. So we're going to do the underside of the airframe first, and I don't think there's much to go on there apart from the antenna and the beacon. So we need to add part R4. Now I've already prepared these with Tamiya Clear Red, and we're just going to remove these from the sprue. I'm ready to clean those up. Shall have a look. This is where the dreaded carpet monster usually rears its head. So we're just removing a tiny portion of the sprue attachment point there, and then that's ready to be glued in place. So we'll just lay the model on its side again. We're using crystal clear PVA glue for these. I'm not going to risk anything more aggressive at this stage of the build. I certainly don't want to upset any of my finished paintwork. Now some of you have noticed probably by now that I'm adding the clear parts before the matte varnish, which is not a problem because we can cover them in Johnson's Clear or a gloss varnish that will recover the sheen. It's gone in, and then we're just going to use a wet cotton bud and Q-tip just to remove that PVA. And the lamp is now in place, and we've got the one on the spine to do as well. So I'm just cleaning my hands, some wet wipes just out of shot, because I don't want to start making any unnecessary errors and causing any paint damage, because we are now getting to the stage where it would be irreversible. So I've just finished adding the uppermost beacon on that avionics spine, just in the same manner as the one below. Use a little nudge to clean the white glue up. We're making sure it's perfectly straight, then we'll leave that to dry. Next up, while we're working on the spine, we've got the aerials that go on there. I'm going to add those now. So we've just got two small aerials. I'm just cutting them flush, removing the mounting pins. We're just going to use our crystal clear again. Now mounted, I made a note of the locations at the required point of the build. So we're just literally going to drop these in place. So we're just making sure the base is smooth. So a little rub of the sanding stick, tiny bit of white glue, and it's onto the model. And we'll just get that in perfect position. There we go. So each step we're getting nearer and nearer to the finished model. So now we have some pitot tubes, other aerials, and we've got the in-flight refueling probe to put on, and landing lights in the gear door, and the nose mounted radar warning receiver. So we'll do this one next because this is just a straightforward drop-in fit. I should have left the one off the tail, because no sooner as I'd put that on way back at the beginning of the build, I'd noticed it had gone missing. That's another part added. It's incredibly time consuming doing all the smaller detail work. Might just put a bit of extra thin in there. So if you get the smallest portion of extra thin you can on the brush and don't touch it, well, the paint will immediately discolour. It will go back and you won't notice anything. And then we've got a door, an aerial going on the main gear door, on the nose leg door, sorry. So we'll do that in the same manner. So I'm just checking now to make sure everything is, as that glue's going off, is in the right positions, which they are. And we're one step nearer the end. So with the model waiting patiently in the background there, we're just going to do the in-flight refueling probe. And I thought we would look at some of these marker pens. So I've got the gunmetal and the aluminium one here. So we're just going to give them a shake before we use them. And I have found these, at first I was a bit, yeah, there's a gimmick. But after using them on the Spitfire that I built prior to this, and throughout this build, they definitely have the place, and they do speed up the painting stages quite a bit, and they're quite precise. So in the past I've had to mask this off, get the airbrush out, and then spray the metal part of the probe, all in the time it's taken me to describe what I've just done. So I've got an aluminium one as well. This is a little bit brighter, and we're just going to do this nose mounted pitot like so. Turning our attention back to the actual model, I've glued those stabilisers in place at the rear. They're now fixed. Magic Factory do include a metal pitot for the tail, which has been secured in place. We've put the demister for the windscreen on, and we are rapidly approaching the final matte coat stage of the build. So we're just going to wait for this to dry, and then we're going to get some matte varnish on. I thought long and hard about whether to apply a surface wash to this model, and one of the criticisms of the kit would be that it's festooned with rivets. Now I think if I put a wash onto this, it's going to highlight every single rivet. It's going to look a little bit weird, so I'm just going to matte coat over it and let the detail speak for itself. It is visible there, so let's crack on and do that. So for my matte coat we are going to use MRP Super Clear. Now we're going to apply this very, very carefully with an airbrush, and we need to stay away from that windscreen. So while the model's sat drying, I've decided to turn my attention to some of the accessories that Magic Factory include in the box. So one of those, nice touch, is always a crew ladder. Simple affair, 3 parts built up. Looks reasonable, it's got some nice tread plate detail on there. And something we should see more of, I think, are the FOD guards. Quite unique to the Skyhawk with the long handles. The only thing I would sort of complain about is if you're going to give FOD guards, give a complete set, because to put these on would mean that we'd need an engine exhaust blank and other bits and pieces around the airframe that are unique to the Skyhawk, that cover the angle of attack sensors and things like that. Anyway, without further ado, let's get these completed and see what they look like when attached to the model. So there we go. So after about half an hour's work, we now have a crew access ladder and a pair of intake FOD guards. So I'll just let them dry properly before adding them to the model, and then I will take some photos of that to add to the reel at the end as usual. Now, while I'm not a fan of adding weapons to the model unless it's for a specific reason, then it's only fair for me to say that Magic Factory do include quite a selection of weapons in their kit. Now, to be frank, I have seen better. There's probably better available from the likes of Res Kit, but nonetheless I shall put them in the spares box. You never know, I might need those for a subject later on. So time for a debrief and a reflection, and it's a new manufacturer to cross my workbench in Magic Factory, and I'm impressed. The model was detailed, intricate and quite complex, but luckily everything fitted. I didn't have really much of a problem with any of the sub-assemblies and anything like that. It's nice that everything's included in the box as well, with the canopy masks, etch fret, nose weight, have those FOD guards and crew ladders. And we've touched on the FOD guards. It would have been nice to have a complete set, but there we go. You know, anyone who's into 3D printing could probably knock those up in short order. The build wasn't without its problems, and at the deckling stage my heart sank, and I did think we'd be staring at a full-on repaint or abandonment of the build. Now luckily the crafting well came to my rescue with those masks, and I think those work well. It's just a little bit of a shame that the rest of the markings are a little bit too pale, but I think the end result, as hopefully you will agree, was worth the extra effort. So all that's left for me to do now is to add the studio photos at the end. Please feel free to comment below about your thoughts about Magic Factory in the build, and especially how to deal with those rivets. Love them or loathe them, it does add character to the surface of the model, and sometimes it's better not to overemphasize them and just let the eye catch those in the light. I've added an A4M to my collection, which I've wanted to do for a long time now, and it's on one of those rare occasions where the end result actually matches the mind's eye view I had of what I wanted the kit to look like at the start of the build. So hopefully you'll join me in another project in the near future. If you haven't subscribed, then please do, and you will get heads up of when new video and content is posted. So in the meantime, I hope you enjoy your modelling, look after yourselves, stay well and take care.